How you going? It's your boy here, Dan, at Going for Two Live for the B League's Pick'em Show. And we are here looking at Monday Night Football, the Monday night slate. We have the somewhat kind of informed New Orleans Saints, the somewhat kind of struggling Chiefs who are doing well. Such a weird game to have a look at and cross-reference, but hey, we're going to give our best shot here, checking out props from Underdog Fantasy, promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit, up to 250 big ones. Promo variations will apply. As always, we're going to have a look at this on behalf of Going for Two. Hopefully we had a good weekend. Before I get going, happy birthday to my little daughter, Alexandra. Happy 8th. You're never going to watch this. Doesn't really matter. Either way, we're going to kick off onto prop bet number one that we are looking at Travis Kelce higher than 61.5 receiving yards. Am I surprised about last week's breakout game? No, the Chargers have been pretty kind to tight ends and tight end performances. And last week was no difference. I think the way the Chiefs are set up now, we are looking at how their player usage was in 2023. And as uninspiring as that was, it was effective. As effective as it was boring and frustrating, but it was effective. And Kelce was somewhat effective. He still finished as the tight end 3 in half PPR last year with a down year. So let's treat it for what it was. And it wasn't the prettiest thing to watch, but here we are. We could probably get some solace in seeing a floor. The floor level for Travis Kelce, whose season this year has been rocky, to say the least. But even though the sign of decline is upon us, we see it coming. Look, last year, it was his first season under 1,000 yards since 2015. It was his first year with 5 or fewer touchdowns since 2016. He seems slower and sluggish. Look at his yards per game. This year, he's sub 40 yards per game, which is down from last year's 65 yards per game, and which is down from 79 yards per game in 2022. So in the span of 18 months, he's gone from around 80 yards per game down to 40. So he's lost half his yards per game in this small bracket of games as he has to compared to 2022. So that shows you where he is. That's a big chunk of yards missing from his game. And as again, last year, it was kind of in between at that 67, 68 yards per game where it was. So 65, sorry. So look, we can still take that for what his floor could be. And now with a similar cast of characters due to injuries, knowing the Saints give up the 6th most yards per game in the tight end position so far with Dallas, got it a couple of years ago, got it, killing them a couple of weeks ago with 170 yards. I think Kelce probably can't punch that much out now. I don't think he's got the legs in him, but a boost to his involvement is probably going to kickstart his season again. Liking for 61.5 over or higher. Pick number 2, we're going to go Patrick Mahomes lower than 245.5 passing yards, which is weird to say, hey, this guy's going to go up, but not really. No Pacheco, no Brown, now no Rice, an aging Travis Kelce, and a rookie receiver in Xavier Worthy. We are now in what I want to call the Noah Gray, Justin Watson, Mecole Hardman, and Sky Moore suck vortex. That's where we are right now. They can only do so much. And 3 for 32 is where these guys are at. They might all combine for about 110, and that's cool. You throw in something like Worthy for a chunk yard play, Perine for some solid work, and Kelce, maybe he gets to 245, but I don't like it against the Saints this week. Look, Mahomes has struggled in yards per game this year since week 1, but surprise, surprise, Detroit lets you have those games. We faced in week 1 where he kind of went off, but since then he's not really managed to click over 250 since, and at times he gets away with those things to pad his stats. He gets away with a few plays here or there. It's kind of cheeky, but it happens for him. He does make magic happen at times, but it's kind of fluky at this point, I think. But either way, his problem is twofold. We know what he can do with the full cast of characters, and we know what he can do with what he has now. And in a down year last year, he still managed to average 260 yards per game at home. In 2023, he's now down to 221 at home per game this year. So I know it's a small sample, 2 games at home. We're going on to our 3rd, but we know that at 221 is where he's at this year, down from 260 as he were. I can see targets to Perine, as I said, the tight ends that you may never heard of. Who's that guy they drafted this year? I don't even remember. It doesn't even matter. A high dose of Kelce and 50-50s to Worthy, and they might get by. I'm taking the lower this week for Mahomes as he steadies the ship into the rest of the season, which could be anything based on a Steve Spagnuolo defense. Speaking of Steve Spagnuolo's defense, we're going to look at Alvin Kamara for the Saints. We're going to go higher than half a rush or receiving touchdowns. Now, let's start with those Chiefs and that Chiefs defense. Look, they have been one of the best in the NFL for some time. Let's just put it there, all right? 6th fewest attempts to running backs, 2nd fewest yards to running backs, 2nd fewest targets to running backs, fewest receptions to running backs, and only 2 touchdowns given up to the position on the ground through the air. They have been a graveyard for running backs this year, and I'm going to take a touchdown this year because that's what we do. We're a little crazy. And look, solid run game this year. Also, they've played Derrick Henry, Zach Moss, Bijan Robinson, and J.K. Dobbins. They've played some really good running backs. So it's not like Kamara is this special guy. They've played some really elite sort of units in the past. So incredible guys in their own right. They've virtually stopped all of them, which is why I'm taking the chicken shit way out here, because Kamara is on the run of his career. And we all have, in terms of lines and is all we have right now is touchdowns, fumbles, and rush yards at 70.5. That's the only three lines we have for Monday night. It's Wednesday at this moment. I've mentioned before. It says it in the ticker down here. And they're the three props we have, but we're going to go with something like this. And here's why. Look, I feel like we have a few discrepancies here. You know, in terms of yards, he's killed. He's yet to have less than 77 at this point with an average of 90. So his line of 70 at this point, or 70.5 with an average of 90 against the team who's holding teams to 57 on the ground. Again, that feels like a discrepancy. So I probably want to avoid yards at this point until that comes down a little bit. However, can the Saints, ask their way down the field? Yeah, I think they can. And can they get in the red zone and get red zone opportunities? Yeah, I think they can. Look, Kamara, who's had 6 combined touchdowns, 5 on the ground, 1 through the air, get over as the Saints' best weapons? Probably at this point. That's where I feel like this is the way to go. He's carrying nearly 71% of his team's red zone rush attempts at this point, 66% target share in the red zone as well for the Saints this year as well. He's virtually their only option when they get down there. So they're either running it with him or passing it to him. That's kind of what's happening at this point. He's virtually their only option. And only Philly this year have stopped him from crossing the line back in week 2. So for him to average 2 touchdowns a game in 3 of his 4 games, that's kind of wild to me. Madness. I have Kamara getting over the line once, and I'm walking away with the other options. I feel like those rush yards need to come down knowing what the Chiefs have done to better or as capable running backs. Fumbles, he hasn't had one this year, and betting on that seems like bad practice because that's just asking for it to happen. So we're going to go with half a touchdown at this point. We have been talking way too long about Monday Night Football props. We're going to finish this and wrap this up. Please stay tuned for Gladys and Kyle with the Monday night 2-point conversion. They are doing our Monday night show, but we're going to put this on just before they come on. Let's talk about the Saints at Chiefs. Pick number 1, as always, going for 2GF2, promo code at Uncle Fantasy, 100% matching deposit up to 250. Pick number 1, Travis Kelce, higher than 61.5 receiving yards. Pick number 2, Patrick Mahomes, lower than 245.5 passing yards. And pick number 3, Alvin Kamara, higher than half a rushing or receiving touchdown in week 5's Monday Night Football game of Saints at Chiefs. Hope you're very well. Have a great week. Safe bets, happy punts. Cheers and goodbye.